In my hometown, which is also my parents' old village, there's an interesting tradition. Whenever a family welcomes a baby girl, they receive a Hina doll, while baby boys get a samurai doll. I used to really like the doll I got when I was born, but as I grew older and entered elementary school, I distanced myself from it. Initially, it was just losing interest, but later my dislike stemmed from a simple fear. Several times, when I woke up at night in the pitch-dark room, I'd suddenly see a pale-faced doll, and it would genuinely startle me. I always felt like the doll was watching everything, creating a sense of fear in my room. So, I couldn't bring myself to like it anymore. Around 3rd grade, I asked my mom to move the doll to the guest room on the 2nd floor, a place rarely visited. One day, when the whole family was out, I decided to go to the 2nd floor guest room to find some books. However, I had to pass by the doll. Despite it being just a doll, I was scared. To overcome my fear, I thought I'd pretend nothing was wrong, open the door, and go straight to the bookshelf. As I opened the door, I noticed the doll's face wasn't facing the door but a corner inside the room. I took a deep breath, thinking it was okay as long as I didn't face it. But then thunder struck, and my courage vanished. I retreated to the stairs, but after a while, I somehow gathered the courage again, thinking it would be okay this time. I changed my strategy, went to the door, and flung it open. To my surprise, the doll's orientation changed again. It was now facing the corner on the left side of the room. Feeling puzzled and a bit shocked, I heard a strange noise from the direction the doll was facing. I screamed and ran downstairs, hiding in the living room under a blanket. Later, when the family returned, my sister went upstairs and screamed. Rushing to see what happened, we found the doll in the middle of the room, entangled with a poisonous snake. After the snake was captured and the doll cleaned up, it was put back in its place. Looking back on this incident, I realized the snake was poisonous, and I have no idea how it got into our 2nd floor. Perhaps the doll was watching the snake, trying to protect me. If we hadn't discovered the snake in the room, and I had gone in, I might have been bitten. Among my elementary school classmates, there were 2 individuals widely recognized as troublemakers. Let's call them Jerry and Gabby. Jerry was the ringleader of a delinquent group, and Gabby seemed to be his right-hand person. Growing up in the same neighborhood due to our proximity, I knew them since childhood, and personally, I didn't see any harm in our casual interactions. However, for those who didn't know them, Jerry and Gabby were perceived as demonic figures. From elementary school onward, they engaged in mischief, including theft and causing local shops to suffer financial losses. As they progressed to middle school, they even joined a delinquent gang, often identified as troublemakers. Until the 3rd year of middle school, they were kept in check by their seniors, preventing them from causing major disturbances on the school premises. But as the end of their middle school journey approached, nearing the summer vacation, a significant event unfolded. Word had it that there was an old house near my home about to be demolished. It had been abandoned for decades, a real relic. Jerry, Gabby, and a few of their delinquent associates planned to sneak into the house before its destruction. Their intention was to see if there were any valuable items left behind and perhaps make a quick buck by selling them. Though I wasn't part of their group, they approached me that day since we lived close by and insisted I act as a lookout. Reluctant and fearing potential retaliation at school if I refused, I reluctantly agreed. That day, we sneaked into the house, which, though empty of residents, still had various furnishings. However, most valuable items seemed to have been removed. I thought to myself, these idiots are up to no good, and I just wanted to retreat home to focus on my studies. Suddenly, Gabby seemed to have discovered something exciting, loudly proclaiming it must be valuable. We approached to find Gabby holding a large antique female doll. The doll appeared quite ancient, with cracks on its face, exuding a somewhat eerie vibe. Excitedly, Jerry and Gabby speculated it must be an antique from the Edo period. I couldn't help but think they were a bunch of fools. In that moment, however, the doll's head unexpectedly snapped off as if plucked by an unseen force and rolled on the ground. We were all startled, and in reflex, Gabby threw the doll to the floor. A sudden chill enveloped me, and I suggested putting the doll back, feeling it was somewhat ominous. Ignoring my concerns, Jerry insisted on burning the doll, claiming it was bad luck. Ignoring my objections, Jerry decided to set the doll on fire, pulling out a lighter from his pocket. I thought they were all mad, especially considering the eerie appearance of the doll. Slowly, I retreated towards the exit, contemplating whether to run away or stay. As Jerry ignited the doll, it quickly caught fire. Simultaneously, for reasons unknown, Gabby's clothes also caught fire and rapidly engulfed him. Everyone was shocked, and just as I was about to escape, the flaming upper half of Gabby, in pain, suddenly hugged Jerry, turning both of them into living fireballs. While their delinquent associates deserted them and fled, I decided to stay back and help extinguish the flames. Using dirty water from the courtyard's pond, I managed to douse the fire on Jerry and Gabby. They lay exhausted on the ground, and my attention turned back to the doll. Returning inside, I found the doll on the floor, its fire long extinguished. Though unsure how the fire on the doll went out, I couldn't leave it there just in case. Apologizing as I picked it up, I placed the doll in the kitchen sink. Later, I hurriedly rode my bike home and called Jerry and Gabby's parents to explain the situation. Worried about their children's misdeeds being exposed, they opted for a taxi instead of an ambulance to rush them to the hospital, avoiding police and fire department involvement. The next day, Jerry and Gabby requested leave from school. During the summer vacation, the old house was demolished and leveled. When they returned to school, they looked miserable. Jerry's face bore scars on the left side, still not fully healed, and he seemed tormented. Gabby, on the other hand, had lost his hair due to burn marks. Their delinquent group naturally disbanded following the incident. Since then, Jerry and Gabby's lives took a downward spiral. Gabby, struggling with depression, disappeared at the age of 17. Jerry, after graduating from junior high, turned into a small-time troublemaker, involved in drug dealing and eventually succumbing to death in prison at the age of 21. While uncertain if their subsequent hardships were related to the doll, the turning point in their lives seemed to stem from the incident with the burning doll. Reflecting on their unfortunate fates, I can't help but feel it was a form of punishment from the doll. To this day, whenever I pass by a store selling dolls, fear prevents me from facing them directly. When I was still young, around 7 or 8 years old, during the summer vacation before entering the first grade, our whole family moved to a new city. As we were in a new place where I didn't know anyone, being a small child, I often stayed at home drawing. Occasionally, my mother would take me to the nearby park to play with other children, but those acquaintances from the park were mostly fleeting, making it difficult to meet them again. Consequently, I didn't make many new friends and spent most of my time at home feeling bored. Halfway through that summer vacation, on my birthday, my aunt sent me a doll as a birthday present. Upon opening it, my first impression was that the doll seemed a bit old. Looking back, considering my aunt had just started working and had financial struggles, buying a doll for me might have been a significant effort, possibly even a second-hand purchase. Later, I found out that the doll had been discontinued a few years before I received it. However, at that moment, receiving a gift made me happy, and I named the doll Little Tree. During that period, I was always fascinated by Little Tree. I would carry it with me wherever I went at home, even placing it next to me when eating, treating it like a friend. However, after spending more than a week with Little Tree, I began to notice some strange occurrences. Every time I playfully mistreated the doll, like turning its arms forcefully or bending its legs backward, would hear a very soft voice saying, "Ouch." As a child, I mostly ignored these sounds, thinking they were coming from my own imagination. Thus, I continued playing, dismissing the occasional voices. However, one evening, as summer vacation was nearing its end, I made a strange observation. Little Tree, which we had put into a box in the closet as part of a pretend punishment during a play session with a friend named Daisy, mysteriously appeared sitting on the edge of my desk, facing towards me. Initially, I wondered why I had placed Little Tree there, as I usually kept it on a nearby shelf. It was then that I remembered Daisy and I had put it in the box in the closet that day. Suddenly, I realized Little Tree shouldn't be sitting on my desk. Overwhelmed with fear, I rushed downstairs and questioned my parents if they had taken the doll out. They had no knowledge of the doll being in the closet. Terrified, I dared not return to my room. My father, sensing my distress, suggested we check the room together. When we entered my parents' bedroom, we heard the same faint murmurs I had heard while playing with Little Tree. This time, they seemed to say, "It's so dark." Both my father and I were startled, and cautiously, we approached the closet where the sounds originated. Opening the closet revealed an empty space, no sign of Little Tree. My father dismissed my concerns, attributing them to a child's imagination. However, unable to shake off the fear, I refrained from going back to my room that night. It was only later that evening, during a conversation with Daisy, that I learned her perspective on that day. She recalled feeling an eerie presence when playing with the doll and sensing a strange occurrence when I temporarily left the room. Frightened by these memories, I brought up the topic with my father, who then shared a chilling account of how he and his colleagues took the doll to a shrine and burned it. According to him, during the burning, the doll emitted unsettling sounds, and at one point, it even crawled out of the flames, presenting a horrifying sight. Since that day, I never saw Little Tree again. Over time, with Daisy's influence, I quickly made many friends and eventually forgot about the mysterious doll. It wasn't until the summer before my second year in junior high, during a conversation with Daisy, who was about to attend a distant high school, that the memories of Little Tree resurfaced. On one evening, she visited my house, and as we sat in the living room eating fruit and watching a special horror program, the show featured cursed objects, including a cursed doll. Daisy asked if I remembered my childhood doll, and the flood of memories hit me. She recounted her feelings of unease during our play sessions, mentioning the doll's peculiarities. Curiosity led me to ask my father about the fate of Little Tree. He somberly explained how they took the doll to a shrine, where it was burned to rid it of any lingering energies. The vivid description of the burning process and the doll's unsettling behavior left Daisy and me in disbelief. My father's stern warning about being cautious with old dolls, as they might harbor inexplicable entities, lingered in our minds, forever changing our perspective on seemingly innocent childhood memories. This incident happened during my rebellious high school days. One afternoon, as I was nearing my home, I noticed that the vacant house across the street, empty for years, had new occupants, a young couple. Passing by their door, the lady politely greeted me, mentioning they had just moved in. I casually responded and headed home. That night, while studying, I glanced out of my room window, directly facing the new neighbors. In one of their rooms, I saw the window tightly closed with the curtains drawn. Despite that, the light inside revealed the silhouette of a girl standing by the window, unmoving. Intrigued, I started observing that room frequently at night, noticing the window never opened. Yet, I consistently saw the girl's shadow, running around or standing still for hours, which unnerved me. During that time, I began having strange dreams related to the situation. Upon waking up, details faded, but I could vaguely recall a stiff, motionless girl in the neighboring room. These dreams occurred almost nightly, leaving me sleep-deprived and exhausted. One day, while returning from school, the nosy elderly neighbor next door stopped me. Known for eavesdropping on others, she had a curious and energetic demeanor. She urgently warned me not to interact with the new neighbors, especially avoiding the room opposite mine on the second floor. She hinted at a secret she discovered and advised against curiosity. Later that weekend, my parents were out, and I agreed to help the young neighbor with an urgent matter. Upon reaching their home, the lady, after polite greetings, explained her need to leave for a few hours. She offered me $10,000 to look after her daughter, Jenny. Left alone in their eerie living room, I sensed an unusual atmosphere but continued watching TV. Later, hearing footsteps upstairs, I assumed Jenny had woken up. As I reached the second floor, one room's door was ajar, and footsteps echoed inside. Approaching, I called out to Jenny, suggesting we play. To my surprise, silence prevailed, and when I opened the door, I found a chilling scene. Jenny, facing the window with closed curtains, emitted an unnatural coldness. Trying to touch her, I discovered her upper body separated from the lower, revealing a mannequin-like figure with distorted facial features and the name, Jenny, written in a chaotic manner. Shocked, I retreated, and as I left, I heard Jenny's voice angrily asking why I didn't play with her. Fleeing downstairs, I encountered the concerned elderly neighbor, who quickly realized something was wrong. After scattering salt on me, she urged me to leave. Back home, I threw the $10,000 into their mailbox and avoided the neighbors. Over time, fear persisted, and I rarely opened my window or engaged with the neighbors. Recently, visiting my parents, I dared to glance at the room across. While closed, the curtains revealed Jenny's silhouette, waving toward me, a chilling reminder of the haunting events.